Hello everybody and welcome back to another GripBeats tutorial. Today we're going to be showing you how to just get started on the GripBeats desktop app. For those of you who haven't actually downloaded the GripBeats desktop app, you can by going to gripbeats.com/patches, and there you can download the desktop app for currently Mac, and in the next couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, for Windows also. So without any further ado, let's get on with it. You want your GripBeats, and we're going to start demonstrating by putting it in grip modes. So you should by now know how to do this. Strap it on like this, and then you get the FPC, which is this long part, and you put this between your index and your thumb, wrap it around the knuckles, and over again the palm of the hand. So over again the palm of the hand. And then you see it will buckle on to the buckle there. You may have to adjust it, and feel free to adjust this on the hand in whichever way is most comfortable. Initially it was designed to be placed here, but as you'll learn, sometimes it's actually much easier, instead of trying to grip here, in what we call the upper layer of the palm, by the way, it's actually easier, it might be easier to just grip slightly lower, and call this section the upper layer, if you like. So this, although it's not important in this lesson, this here we call the first layer, the lower layer of the FPC strip, and this the upper layer. So you may adjust the upper layer as you see fit. So this is the GripBeats device in grip mode, and as you can see on the screen here, we've also got the GripBeats desktop app. The background doesn't have to be purple, it can be blue or turquoise with the red GripBeats device. I'm just using purple because I like purple. So what you want to do is you want to turn on your GripBeats device. So you do that by clicking and holding the power button for a few seconds. It then vibrates, and then you just keep your hand in this origin position. This is what we call origin position, and you will eventually feel 4 consecutive pulses from the vibration motor in the GripBeats device. Boom, boom, boom. And then you will actually feel a double pulse. We call them pulses. Boom, boom. That means your GripBeats device has been calibrated. Of course, if you feel like you moved while it was calibrating, or you want to actually recalibrate, you can just click and hold the power button for 2 seconds. You could probably hear that as well, and then just hold your hand in origin position until you feel the double pulse again. And I felt that, you might not have heard it, but that indicates that it was complete. So once your GripBeats desktop is open and you feel like you've calibrated, you can click to open the Bluetooth settings here, this little black circle, and this will open what's called the audio devices panel. And from previous tutorials, you'll know that on Mac, in order to connect to a Bluetooth MIDI instrument, such as GripBeats, you need to go through this process of opening up audio devices, then going to Window, let's see, Show MIDI Studio. And in future, after you've opened this once and you click on here, it should just open the MIDI Studio directly. You then want to either click this little Bluetooth button, which is much easier to get to the next page, or you go to, again, I believe it's MIDI Studio Open Bluetooth Configuration, but I like to just click up here because it's quicker. And then you'll see the available Bluetooth MIDI devices. GripBeats, this specific GripBeats is there, so I'll click connect, and then after it's connected, so you know it's connected because it gives you the option to disconnect if you want, you can then go to what over here is the MIDI port refresh, and you click refresh here, and GripBeats Bluetooth should turn up. If it doesn't turn up, it means it's probably not connected. You need to follow the previous steps. So it's connected here, if not automatically, and now your GripBeats device is actually connected, as you can see. So what we're going to do now that you're connected is demonstrate firstly how you can, we call this process user define your parameters for the GripBeats data. So for example, in grip mode, you've got all movement from what we call roll movements, left and right, like this, rolling your hand, right? Also, what we call pitch, which is up and down, like this, and also yaw, which is right and left. If you can just see that in the video there, right and left. So, of course, this is different for everyone. You may like to have your maximum yaw in this position, or this, and your minimum in this position. You may like to have your minimum roll in this position, and your maximum in this position, or likewise your minimum roll in this position, but your maximum roll in this position. And we've given names for each of these in the app, although they're not very important in this video. The point of this video is to just show you how, if you wanted to, use it to find your minimum and maximum values. So let's start with the gyroscope here. As you can see, we have the pitch. And what we're going to do is, firstly, we're going to, if you feel like these aren't quite at zero, zero being your resting position here, which is where you should have calibrated, what you can do is you can recalibrate again by clicking and holding the power button for 2 seconds. What you're looking for after calibration is to have as close to the middle point as possible. So pitch here is pretty close to the middle point. Roll here is also slightly off, but you really want it somewhere like there. But since we're working on the roll at the moment in terms of the actual software, we're trying to improve the accuracy of that. You can allow a degree of accuracy of maybe 30 degrees at the moment, just for this version of the desktop app. So this is acceptable. And then yaw, which is here, this line is close to 0 as well. So now you can see I calibrated in origin, and I've got very much close to 0 for all 3 axes: pitch, roll, yaw. But you may notice that actually either they're inverted, or they're just not, they're acting either too sensitively or not as sensitive as you'd like them to be. So what you will do is you'll use it to define them. So let's start with pitch. So firstly, perform your most negative or minimum pitch. Now I'm going to perform it here because I like to have the full 180 degrees down, up. Okay, so this is going to be my minimum. So what I'm going to do is I iterate, I perform a minimum, I then click minimum. And you see how the value for the minimum just jumped to the bottom. That's because I've now informed the desktop app that my minimum is down here. So after you've done that, you then want to define your value for maximum. So you go up and stop wherever you want to for your maximum, and then click maximum. So now you will see that I've got very good responding data for my pitch, which is just as I want it, which is maximum going up, minimum going down. Now, you may, I see there's a bit of a delay, but that's because I'm recording the screen. You may ask, does it have to be positive going up, negative going down? No, it's actually up to you. So if you feel that for you, visually, it makes more sense to have, I don't know, when the white goes down here, the data goes down, that actually it's when your hand is going up, then you can program it. For example, if your maximum you want it at the bottom and your minimum to be, if you want your maximum to be in this position, click maximum here. If you want your minimum to be in this position, click minimum here. And now you'll see that I approach the bottom when I perform this gesture, and I approach the top when I perform this gesture. So this is really up to you. For me though, I like my maximum up here and my minimum down here. So that's my pitch. Likewise for roll, I like to go, so from the origin I like to go 180 degrees and record that, or use it to find that as my minimum. And then I like to go to origin plus 90 degrees. We call this a reverse handshake for my maximum. And then you can see with my roll here, I'm getting, again, pretty accurate results. Now you may notice a relationship between the roll and pitch, and this is natural. In fact, it's a common recurring challenge in gyroscope algorithm programs, and the developers are working on this to try to increase the accuracy so that rolling doesn't necessarily change the pitch, but it's pretty good at the moment. And there are ways manually to reduce the possible overlap here as well. So for example, my roll as I approach negative seems to decrease the pitch as well. And you know what? That might actually be because when I roll, the joints in my arm actually cause me to tilt forward a bit. And that, of course, is a pitch when I tilt forward. So you might just want to bear that in mind, that remember, pitch is up and down. So if you roll and you tilt down, because of, especially in the reverse handshake position, because that's kind of unnatural without rolling the joint down, bear in mind that you may trigger a pitch as well. So I'm going to try to counter that pitch by keeping my hand up, doing some sort of disjointed chicken wing here. Whatever you want to call it, just do what works for you. So I've got my pitch now calibrated, I've got my roll, nice, and as you can guess, we're going to now do the yaw. So yaw is going to be maximum here. I like to do this, if this is origin, for me it is, I like to do my maximum 90 degrees to the right. I call this origin right, or we call this origin right. And likewise, my minimum yaw to 90 degrees to the left. I call this origin left. So now we've got all three axes calibrated. Pitch, roll, and we've got yaw. Now, of course, if you don't want anything to be sounding during this, you want to make sure you're on mute, which is here. The acceleration, the acceleration won't make any sound within the desktop app in this version, but I'm going to demonstrate how you might adjust the sensitivity anyway. So let's lower the sensitivity of the accelerometer, which we call tap, by the way, in this little panel for now. Let's lower it to 7. I remember that was pretty reliable. Now, if I perform, now this is universal, okay, so you could perform an acceleration in any direction, and what should happen is you get a little blip, a little red response on this button here. So I'm going to perform an acceleration. Let's see if it responds. Okay. Now, we don't have a special name for this acceleration. On the spot, I just come up with something such as the Power Ranger move. You know, when I perform this push in front, I'm getting this acceleration response. And I'm doing this not because it's just so happens to be this one. I mean, it does just so happen to be this one, but actually because I've tested it before, and this seems to be a reliable acceleration response for now. You might also like to experiment with other directional accelerations, such as down. So you see, I actually triggered one there as well. But do bear in mind that naturally, and I believe this is because of the you can call it the gravity sensor, but the magnetometer within the GripBeats device, naturally that when you perform a downwards acceleration, you get a reverse response as well. So if I go down, sometimes coming back up responds another up. So don't be too surprised. There you go, for example, by that. So whereas the Power Ranger acceleration seems to just pretty reliably just perform a single acceleration in front of you. So if you like you can imagine like, what's it called when you play on the drums, a molar technique where you drop the stick on the snare and then gravity pulls it down a second time. I suppose you can associate that with hitting down. You're getting a rebound. Whereas with the Power Ranger, you get it's just a hit and then you only get that hit. So for anyone who's got drum experience, you might understand what I'm saying. Otherwise, just completely ignore what I said. And just understand that you can adjust the sensitivity of the accelerometer here, and you get a pretty reliable acceleration right now by performing in front of you. Now, what I'm about to show you in terms of making sound on the GripBeats desktop app doesn't actually require you to, you don't actually need acceleration. However, for those of you who are tech savvy enough to go onto Ableton and map this onto Ableton, you want to see our next video, this information is very useful. Anyway, we'll be using the accelerometer later on in future releases anyway. So let's get on now with what we call the GripBeats Theremin. Now forgive me if you hear sounds immediately. What's supposed to happen here is by squeezing the hand, squeezing the pressure sensors that is, and rotating, you trigger, you start what we call the GripBeats Theremin. It's basically a sine wave, and with rotation you can actually manipulate the frequency, or I don't know the technical term for this, but how how long, how wide the wave is. So here we go, let's have a go. So if you click 1, this activates the GripBeats Theremin. Okay, squeeze my hand. Now if you squeeze harder, you should increase the volume. And if you really want to increase the maximum, you can click and drag here, the volume dial here. Now if you find that you're peaking too soon, you might like to adjust the velocity sensitivity here. Now you can either make this more sensitive or less sensitive by going. So the higher the velocity, the harder it is to get to a maximum volume. I'm not going to stress too hard, so I'm going to have it on a lower level. But I do like a degree of sensitivity and control here, so maybe something in the middle. Oh, by the way, you can adjust it to the 10th decimal or to the 100th by clicking on the respective decimal point. So that's adjusting the 100th, and that's adjusting the 10th. All right, 0.7 is way too high for me. I'm gonna 0.35. All right, so right now you just pretty much hear a constant wave. Now with a little bit of rotation, this is a roll rotation, as you can see on here. I slow down the sine wave, if that's a technical term, probably not, but it's slowing down, right? And if you slow it down, it sounds pretty funny really, but this is quite a fun little thing to try out on your GripBeats device, before getting into the whole world of music making, of course. If I rotate enough, I should just get a flat note. Well, truth, it sounds more like a police siren, and the dogs hate it. But the point is that it's not a flat. It's not a flat tone. It's not a one tone. It actually plays the same sine wave, but much slower. Down, up. If you turn too far, it would actually stop the sound completely. So you need to find the spot. There you go. And if you rotate what will be the negative roll, you can increase the frequency until you go super fast. Again, if you go too far to the extreme value, it will stop. Like that. But make sure you keep the pressure as well. If the sound comes off, it's probably because you've either approached the extreme or you've squeezed too hard. Not squeezed too hard, sorry. You've let go of the pressure sensor. So that's just roll. Now there's actually one other axis which does something, and that's yaw. Now again, I don't know the technical term for what it does, and a lot of people, well, the tech people will know what's going on, the music enthusiasts, but the complete entry-level people like myself, into the world of music tech at least, will think it's just a bunch of sound waves. But if you do that rotation, it does sound, from a music theory background, that the pitch is going down, dropping slightly, going slightly lower. Of course, the frequency of the note is also increasing as you go more negative, but it is slightly different to the roll because you get, let me see what the difference is, if I can try to explain. Definitely a wider range of control, and that's very quick. And that's pretty much the GripBeats desktop app and the GripBeats Theremin. If you want to play on Ableton, that's going to be a follow-up video, which you can check out. We'll call that part 3 or something similar. If you do have any questions on this, please let us know. We have a little chat button you can click here. Click to give us feedback. We'll be more than happy to help. Good luck with it and enjoy.